Hello and welcome to Czech Republic. We're in Prague. Woohoo! Ta-da! It's a new day and it's the first day that we've been in Prague. We came here when it was dark, so our first stop was obviously the old town where we could see the astronomical clock. And if you know your history, you know that this was constructed so that they can be able to tell the positions of the sun, the moon, the stars. And it's been beautifully plated. It was reconstructed in 2018, so yeah. And then we went around the old town and looked at the buildings. It's all pretty the same compared to other European countries. The theme is the same. And we saw a few horses. Well, you can tell I'm pretty excited because I fancy the idea of riding on a horse or a sleigh. And after the little fancy show, we were pretty hungry at this point, so we had to look for a restaurant. We found a traditional Czech restaurant and I couldn't find anything vegan, so I just ordered some garlic bread. But my friends found something they could enjoy and it was pretty nice. And afterwards, we headed towards the Charles Bridge. We met a pretty lady who was very kind to tell us to use this route because then we would be able to see more traditional things and exciting things on the way. So let's see what it holds for us. And can you hear that sound? Listen. That was pretty amazing. That music, I liked it. I liked it honestly. And is it just me, or do you think they look like the Pirates of the Caribbean or something? Let me know. And yo, this is the famous Charles Bridge. Something interesting is that this was constructed back in 1357, some 100 years ago. Can you believe that? And it was made out of stone and it's arched. And this was constructed during the reign of King Charles IV, and it was used as a connection between the old town and the Prague castle. So if the king wanted to go from the castle to the old town, he would use this bridge. So how interesting is that? So what you're looking at right now is the side where the castle is located, the other end, and I'll show you this on tomorrow's vlog. So today is our second day, and today we woke up pretty early so we can finish up things because it's our last day here, you know, like a full day here. And we went to the Prague castle, and you know, it holds a Guinness World Record of being the largest castle in the world or ever built. It currently harbors the office of the President of the Czech Republic, but in medieval times it was a place where you could find churches, gardens, the old royal palace, the Golden Lane, and many other structures. One of the first things you see when you get into the castle is the coals fountain. It's a pretty interesting structure. We honestly couldn't finish the whole castle for the whole day, so we just booked a ticket for 4 main places. That is the St. George's Basilica, the Throne Room, and the Golden Lane. And here we go! Unfortunately, we weren't allowed to take any videos inside the cathedral. So here's the outer look. This is the back of the cathedral. This is how it looks like, but trust me, inside it's gothic, really gothic. It must be pretty hard to pray in there. Next we headed to the old royal palace. This is where the King of Bohemia will sit. If you can see the door farther away, that is where I assume his seat will be, and you will come to him and bow down and do all those kind of things. Now catch this. This room is called the Diet Room, and not for eating, but where the state assemblies took place. The throne was for the king, and beside him was the archbishop, and the benches were for the representatives of the estates. And if you are just a representative of the royal towns, you would stand by the window having just one vote. So basically your vote didn't really matter. So the outward lane of the royal palace took us to the St. George's Basilica, which was built in 920 by Vratislaus of Bohemia, and it was actually the first ways in which Bohemia, or now Czech Republic, was Christianized. And next we have the Golden Lane, which just has building and used to have buildings, and it was a big way that was connecting the castle, so nothing much interesting here. And woohoo! We're done with the history, so let's go dance! We're on our way to the dancing house. You know, it's actually called a dancing house because it looks like it's dancing, not that it is actually dancing. And it was beautiful because we also had the sun going down, so it was really, really nice. And yeah, so have a look. So we were pretty exhausted at this point, but what a way to end the evening and the trip. So we went to this restaurant, it's called Vetopna, and they serve you food on little mini trains. Can you see that? I mean, how cool is that? It was so good, and even though it's not vegan, I enjoyed watching the trains bringing the food for my friends. I just had some water and some chips and guacamole, and yeah, we called it a trip. If you know me, you know that I love food and I love cooking, and interestingly enough, this cookbook was in our bedroom in Czech Republic, so talk about coincidence, or maybe not. But anyway, I decided to try a few of these dishes and I will be showing you how to do them. So for the first dish, we will need some coconut milk, some rice, peanuts, coriander, salt, and pepper to taste. It's called coconut rice with peanuts, so literally every ingredient is in the title of the dish. So to our pot, we're going to add all the ingredients, mix well, make sure to wash your rice, and make sure you're using basmati rice or any long grain rice because you don't want mushiness in this recipe. We're going to simmer the rice for about 15 to 20 minutes on low to medium heat, and I didn't add black pepper like before, so I'm adding at this stage, but don't be like me, add it before. I was using ground black pepper and it was really hard to get those balls out, like the lumps. So do it before, don't be like me. While that's simmering away, we're going to wash our parsley or coriander. I couldn't find coriander, so I used parsley, but by all means use coriander if you have it. We're going to de-leaf it, like pluck every leaf from the root or the branch. Our rice is done and we're going to add in the peanuts and the parsley, and then we're going to mix this gently. You don't want to make it mushy, so just do it gently before you serve it onto a bowl or onto a plate. The recipe says that you can have this on its own as it is, but I chose to have some chickpea on the side just for extra protein. But do it your way, however you want it. If you want to add some soup or anything, just do you. Now this next recipe is the most interesting thing I've ever eaten. So it's called knedlike, the dumplings or the flour dumplings, and they serve this with some cream sauce or some beef goulash, and you know that I'm going to make a vegan version of it, so here's what you need. These dumplings are usually made using some special kind of flour that is coarse, but since I don't have this around me, I substituted it for half a cup of all-purpose flour and half a cup of semolina, and now I'm mixing it with some milk. I used soy milk, but you can use any kind of milk that you have, but you don't want to use almond or any other that brings another flavor into these dumplings. So we also need some yeast. We need some sugar and some salt. Warm up your milk to about 40 to 50 degrees Celsius, not too hot so that you don't destroy the yeast, and then mix the yeast into the milk before pouring the milk over your flour. And here I'm just kneading until it's soft, and I'm adding a little oil just to coat it, and I will leave it to rest for about 2 hours. My dough has increased in size. As you can see, it's nice and smooth. I'm going to press down into the dough so that I can remove any excess air before I form it into little rectangles. You'll see in a moment. Divide the dough into 2 equal pieces, and then with your hands fold in and tuck in the dough while making a rectangle sort of shape. Make sure that it's not too thin and not too thick, just to make a good size of the dumplings. While you're rolling and tucking in the dough, make sure to take great care of the sides so that they are not pointed but have sort of a straight line, if I may say. Place this one piece on the side and continue with the other piece of the dough. And when all of these pieces are rolled into small rectangles, we will leave it to rest for 20 to 30 minutes. Meanwhile, while this is resting away, let's make some cream sauce. It's vegan inspired and easy. So we will need some bay leaf, vegetable bouillon cubes. I'll just be using 2, some thyme, and soaked cashews. For the cream, I'm using coconuts, some garlic, an onion, and carrot. Finally, some tofu for protein. I'm using smoked tofu for an extra flavor here. In the traditional dish, they will cook the meat with all the spices and greens for about an hour. But since I cannot cook tofu for that long, I decided to make a broth out of this. So I put in the leaves, some water, the thyme, and the cubes into this water, and I let it boil for about 10 to 15 minutes to get the full flavor. While the broth is bubbling away, I will cut my tofu into slices. You can cut it however you want, but I just felt like I needed some slices in this case. Next, I prepped the veggies. The broth is done, but since I wanted the same flavor on the tofu without mixing or contaminating the whole of it with tofu, I divided some of the broth and left about a cup of the broth in the pot. The one in the bowl I will use for making the cream sauce, but the one in the pot I will dip in my tofu so that they can boil in the broth for about 10 minutes. Tofu is bland in taste and it will soak up all the flavors that you give into it. So for this dish, I wanted this kind of flavor. Finally, time to make the cream sauce. So I'm going to saute the onions and all the vegetables that I have. I will use some little oil. You can choose to skip the oil, but I'll saute this for about 5 minutes until all is cooked through before adding in my broth. Now that the vegetables have soaked in the flavor from the broth, it's time to add in creams. First, I will add in the cashew cream, and then I will follow with the coconut cream, but you can do in the reverse order, it doesn't matter, I think. Leave this to cook for about 5 minutes, stirring frequently so that it doesn't get burnt. By this time, our dough has rested enough, so it's time to cook the dumplings. Bring salted water to boil, and when it's boiled, put in your dumplings and be careful not to stretch them, and cook this for 10 minutes on one side, and afterwards flip and cook for another 10 minutes on the other side. And while that is cooking away, we will use our hand mixer to blend the sauce till smooth for about 10 minutes. When the dumplings are done cooking, we're going to remove them from the stove and let them sit aside for about 3 to 5 minutes just to let them cool down. Now the most interesting part, can you see that yellow golden look? Oh, I love it. I love the sauce, so I'm going to serve some on the side. Before serving the dumplings, we need to cut them. I was using a string here. I tried the knife method, but it didn't really give me good visual results. But see here, you can see it's fluffy and nice and soft, just how we want it.